Hello everyone, welcome to Sameksha Academy. Let's read today's newspaper. Three warships join Navy. PM says India key to global security. So here we should understand it in the context of India's maritime security. As you all know, if you see our country, if you divide it into three parts, 2/3 of the country is surrounded by oceans, right? So in this context, definitely whenever if any headline comes with respect to country security, we must need to pay attention, not only in the context of prelims, but even in the context of mains. In GS paper 2, when we discuss about international relations, in that context, we will be discussing about our maritime security. In the similar fashion, in GS paper 3, we have internal security. In that, we have this topic called as a border management. In that context also, we must understand this particular aspect, right? So, see here Modi, spirit of development, not expansionism. So, this you can use even in some conclusions. So, the reason for which we are developing all these aspects with respect to maritime security is for the growth and development, not for expansionism, unlike some other countries. For example, here we are countering China, right? We will be discussing in detail in the next page. So, meanwhile, just see some other headlines here. Israel Hamas reach deal on seas for release of hostages. So, for long, as you all know, the West Asia, especially Israel and the surrounding region, is burning, right? Thousands of people lost their lives because of this war between Israel and the surrounding countries, like on one side with Syria, on the other side with Gaza, with Palestine, especially with the Gaza Strip, right? So, in this context, you should just pay attention to the headline and see here next one. So, why this headline is important? 6 years, 65 crores spent, right? When we discuss about what we call this regulatory, in simple terms, what we can say, regulatory hurdles, right? Just to build one railway overbridge, what kind of hurdle it is facing from the past 6 years? Right, on one side we have the local municipal authorities, on the other side we have the railway ministry along with the involvement of the state government. So, when different departments and ministries are involving, understood, if there is lack of clarity, then how certain projects can be in standstill position. So, in that context, this Ahmedabad bridge is important. So, that is the reason for which this particular issue became part of the headline, right? Next, nuclear deal in mind. US removes curbs on Baba Atomic Research Center and two others. As you all know, we already discussed from the past few days, this particular topic is being continued, right? So, I think we already discussed about India and US nuclear deal in detail. If any one of you missed it, just go and check it once, right? So, in that context, this is important just to follow the headline. Yes, this is here we will be discussing the key aspect. See here, three naval ships. One is that INS Surat, the destroyer. Another one is INS Nilgiri, the new lead ship, 7th in the stealth guided missiles, right? It will be carrying the guided missiles. And the third one is INS Bagashir. Already prelims question was asked on this particular thing. They just asked about what exactly Bagashir. Bagashir is a sand ship, sorry, sandfish. It's a deep sea predator. So, because the nature of that ship is predator, in the similar fashion, this submarine, this Calvary class submarine also, right, it is a kind of predator. Understood that, and that's the reason for which we came up with this name called as Bagashir, right? But here in the context of prelims, what are the keywords that are important? It is a diesel electric one. I think you know earlier we have this, we used to say they have this name called the Scorpion class. So, this we actually got the technology transfer from France, right? Then accordingly we have our own submarines called as Kaveri, sorry, what is one? Calvary series. Okay. So, I think in this context and this project Alpha, Indian government, especially the Ministry of Defence, it came up with the initiatives to give strength to our maritime security. So, in that context, in the context of prelims, these keywords are important. What exactly they are? The frigate. Frigates usually we will be using, these are small shipping vessels, right? They will be fighting against the opponents. So, Here Modi gave a speech, but the speech is important. Why it is important? In that speech he mentioned that we are here for, he used 4 keywords. Those 4 keywords you should remember. I came with an acronym called as open ship. Why I use the word open ship, I will tell you. Open means we need open seas, we need to secure our borders, we must promote inclusivity and prosperity. Why do we need to, like what, sorry, what kind of maritime security we should promote? We should not promote expansionism, we should promote development. So development comes with openness. Next, it comes with security, it comes with inclusivity. Inclusivity means by taking into consideration of all the surrounding regions, surrounding countries, and prosperous. So the development should be distributed to all the stakeholders. So that's the reason we should understand this. Because I just want you to remember that, that's why I use the word open ship. Openness, secure, inclusive, and prosperous. So if you come up with mnemonics like this, you can remember. So in this context, he mentioned about our Sagar initiative, right? Security and growth for all in the region, right? And see here his main point here is we have a lot of global challenges, especially with respect to maritime security, right? So these some of the security related challenges he mentioned. He mentioned about drug trafficking, right? Piracy, right? He mentioned some others, arms smuggling. So in this context, his major point is India wants to strengthen its security aspect not only in terms of land and sky but also deep sea and infinite space, right? So and his main point here is here we are for development, not for expansionism. And another aspect I mentioned, when it comes to maritime security, it is not only be seen in the context of geopolitics, we should also see it in the context of geoeconomics, right? Here very important aspect, his major point he mentioned, if we invest 1 rupee in shipping industry, we will be getting 1.82 paisa in return. That means if you invest 1, you will be getting 1.82 times. If you invest 1 crore, you will be getting 1.82 crore in return, right? So it is good if you investing in these kind of areas, not only for political side, we should also see the economic side, because shipping industry, right, plays very crucial role in countries' growth and development. Most of countries' energy we are actually importing through ships, especially crude oil. So in this context, I feel definitely this article is important. I am planning to do a detailed video about this particular issue, India's maritime security, what Modi said about this during the recent event that happened in Mumbai, right? Next, all continuation of the first one. So this is the one, see here, the layout. This is the layout, right? Above for the continuous first one. So still see this patch, right? Not yet completed. Next, yeah, this I think you already know, you are following it up. Graded response action plan, right? Especially exclusively for reducing pollution in Delhi. Now we are in GRP for GRAP 4. So whenever we increasing in the numbers, we will be putting more restrictions so that we can reduce the vehicular emissions. So that's the reason for which I just highlighted that. Rest you can just glance through. Again, this is about Delhi elections. Just again Delhi election. Again this one. See this one, this headline, mindfulness fitness, Modi's do's and don'ts for Mahayuti MLAs, right? So after attending the event in Mumbai port, right? So he met the Mahayuti government MLAs and ministries. I think you know recently elections happened to Maharashtra. In that context, he used these 2 keywords. One is about mindfulness, second one is about fitness. So his major point here is we should not don't try to interrupt the day-to-day activities of the administrator, right, by coming up with frequent transfers. It will hamper the administration. That's one of the key points I mentioned here. See, headline important, frozen Narega funds, right? In the recent cost, it has become an issue between center and the states, especially being ruled by the opposition parties. In that context, they are having this issue of delivery of funds. Again, former Chhattisgarh minister arrested by ED over liquor scam. Just pay attention to the headline. And again, this is important. Train to Kashmir. I think you know this Kashmir line. This Kashmir line means here from Jammu to Baramulla. Right. The interesting aspect here, see, Commissioner of Railway Safety. Whenever we come across these words, immediately we think of it comes under Railway Ministry, but it actually comes under this Commissioner of Railway Safety is an audit body. It actually comes under Minister of Civil Aviation. Understood? To not have any conflict of interest, they kept it under the Minister of Civil Aviation. So, importance in the context of prelims is actually important, right? So, recently it did an audit and finally approved for the completion of this particular strip. Right now, between Baramulla and Banihal and Udhampur and Jammu, we have the movement of the trains. But the thing here is because of this difficult portion here, this particular stretch, close to around 100-kilometer stretch. So here, because of the difficult terrain, still we couldn't able to complete. Though the project started, you know, when it started way back in 94. See here, somewhere they mentioned. So where they mentioned here, the Kashmiri line, the project they mentioned somewhere. I think I forgot to highlight that 1994 to in between that the project got started. So in 2014, 3 phases of it got completed, and for the last phase now it got the approval. Banihilal, yes, the Kashmir, yes, see, sorry, 94. So way back in 1994 it got started, the project started. So finally it is going to be completed. It is very much important, right, to improve connectivity, especially to the Kashmiri Valley. So in that context, this map, I think you should pay attention, right, from Jammu to Baramulla, right. So how many places it connects? Baramulla, Srinagar, Anantnag, Banihal, Udhampur and Jammu. So in that context, I feel you just have a look at it. Next, this is okay, just to get the headline. This is important. Just pay attention to the K. Vinod Chandan. Recently got promoted to the Supreme Court by the Collegium. He got recommended, right? So he will be joining Supreme Court today. So in this context, I think you know he is famous for this what you call reserve caste survey in Bihar, right? So for that, the judgment was actually given by this particular person, hail from Kerala, Ernakulam. So just to get an idea. Next, yeah, see, PMLA, Supreme Court pulls up ED for saying rigorous of bail applied to women. See, there is one particular section within PMLE. It says when it comes to whenever ED tries to arrest any particular woman, they should be given some kind of, because there are some special provisions under which they should be treated. Here you cannot say that the women are on par with men because they will be having their own challenges. But when ED, when it was trying to file the complaint, so there with respect to this particular lady, so ED mentioned that you should be, you will be treated on par with men. So further Supreme Court, it got angered, right? So here you must understand the legal provisions. So that's the purpose for which the law is there. So in that context, you just have to look at it. Again, see this one. Manipur's first militant attack of 2025. Drones drop bombs in villages. Why I highlighted this? On one side, you know, the cookie and what you call what the like between these cookies, right? And and the other community, right? So the issue is going on in Manipur right now. So in this context, now the militants are entering. So we must understand when there is a kind of local issue, how this can be exploited by militants. So this is what is happening in the northeast for long. Be it with respect to Mizoram earlier, right? Be it with respect to Nagaland, be it with respect to Manipur. Understood that? So in that context, I just highlighted that the Meitei versus Kuki conflict. Next one, amid growing protest, Kerala government dumps bill to amend forest rights, because this particular bill tries to give more powers to forest officials. So the locals protested that it may be misused by the forest officials. So that's the reason this particular one got the bill got dropped by the government. So the headline important, and this is though very small information but very important. Eastern Nagaland People's Organization. You know what is the demand of this organization? The demand of this organization is separating this particular region from Nagaland. They are fighting for separate statehood, right? So in this fight, now when the tripartite talks happen between Naga people, this Eastern Nagaland People's Organization, Naga government and central government, especially Home Ministry, and the proposals they made, right? What is one of the important point? We need legislative, executive and financial powers. Until that comes, we don't accept, right? Or else we want separate statehood. So here government proposed this frontier Naga territory. So the areas where this Eastern Nagaland portion is there, we will be considering that as a frontier Naga territory, right? So rather than going for a separate statehood, you will be giving some special concessions. So that's the area on which talks are going right now. So here we must understand this in the context of small state versus large state debate. Why some regions are asking for separate statehood? Earlier we used to hear about this Bundelkhand, right? So I feel in that context that is important. Next, one time you have to read about the startup ecosystem in India, right? So here I highlighted some key points. Startups, earlier it started mostly in the metros like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, but now the startups, most of the small startups, they are actually starting in the tier 2 cities, because there lies India's half of the urban population living in the smaller towns, tier 2 cities. That's the point Amitabh Khan mentioned here. So that's why here we must strengthen our infrastructure and educational opportunities for these people. That's the key point I also thought important. So I highlighted. Again, this is with respect to California blaze. Why I highlighted this? See, we used to think America is one of the most advanced countries, right? They have a lot of ecosystem to predict, but still when it comes to environment, we must understand up to what extent we can interfere with nature or we can fight with nature. And this one, this is with respect to what you call Mohan Bhagavat's statements, right? If we don't come up with outreach activities, right, we could have considered some of the tribes as the anti-nationals. Understood that? So the agenda here is for the integration of tribes into the rest of the society, for which the particular statement was made. But the interesting aspect here is, see here, this anti-national, when some tribes used to be called earlier as anti-nationals because of the colonial laws. So the colonial law of 1871, the Criminal Tribes Act. So any particular tribe, if they fights against the government, they will be considered as the criminal tribes, right? So in that context, the British government used the word anti-national, whoever violates it. So the major core argument here is, it's fine, tribes must be integrated, but the main agenda here, the article, the particular editorial says, is to stop this conversion towards Christianity, right? The Gar Vapsi thing. it is fine. But at the same time, when if you see the political results, though BJP is heavily trying for this, but in most of the tribal pockets, it is not able to get the political results, electoral results. So what else they need to do? So the main core point, the essence of the editorial says you should think beyond rather than just thinking of this political development should be there. So the inclusivity should be there. So then we can think of this integration. Next, so this is about Eric Grassetti, the US ambassador to India. When US India put our heads and hands, in simple terms, both heart and mind, then there is almost no door we can't open, no friends we can't bring in. So the main core thing is if we come closer in the sense where we have the gray areas, be it with respect to civil nuclear cooperation, be it with respect to technological transfer. And once that you heard about this statement, just wait a time being, you will come to know the next statement. Right. So that's why we should walk the talk. When your ambassador says we should come closer, you should also cooperate with us. So where they are lacking, just you will come to know. Just wait for a time being. I will show you that article. With this you can just so this is with respect to the first phase continuation, celebrations relief on the streets after the truce deal. This is South Korea officials arrest president, right? As you all know, when he imposed martial law, the parliament didn't like it, so they eventually wants to impeach and arrest him, right? The reasons for why he need to impose martial law. Next, this is important. I think few days back also we discussed Modi is planning for a visit to Sri Lanka. In that day itself, we discussed that Dissanayake planning for a China visit. So that already happened. So there he discussed about the economic cooperation. Sri Lanka is already part of the Belt and Road Initiative for the Chinese digital economy by 2030. They want cooperation from Sri Lanka's digital economy by 2030. They want a cooperation from China. So I think in that context we should understand this particular issue. Again this one, after 78 bodies pulled from illegal mining in South Africa, especially in that gold mining, right? So a lot of illegal mining. See, as of now 78 bodies, there are some estimates more than 100 people died. So again, US sanctions on Russian oil, will it impact India? Definitely. So how we should bargain? Right. So we will just wait and see. We have detailed article regarding that. So I told you, Gracity there mentioned that we must use both our mind and hand. But see here, new USA export law, it put India in the second list. There are only 18 countries that are closer to US. There the US companies can go and have and establish the GPUs. GPU means this graphic processing units, AI GPUs we say, to process the information. But India is not in that list. If you really want to come closer, then you should allow India also. India is in the second list. So the US companies can come to India, but there will be some restrictions. How many GPUs they can export? There will be kind of controls. There are some countries, it wants to put restrictions, Russia, China, North Korea, Libya. Okay, it is fine. But India is not in the first 18 countries list. Right? So we should understand if the cooperation means it shouldn't be just one sided, it should be both sides. Next, okay, just see this. Meta India apologies for Zuckerberg's remarks. So he remarked that lot many countries, lot many governments lost the elections after their mismanagement of COVID-19. But indirectly his main thing was that in India, the current ruling regime, earlier also it was in power when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out. So indirectly, he tried to criticize India. Immediately, Indian government reacted to that, and the Indian head of the Meta apologized for that. So that's about this. So we said how US curbs on Russia shadow fleet may impact Indian oil imports. Right? More West Asia imports may happen. Discounts may be possible. Right? We should wait and see how this Trump reaction happens eventually. So these are some of the possibilities. So this article is an explanation of that particular headline. Next, so we already discussed about this copy, right? And it's a space human experiment. So initially, right, it wants to experiment that with this plants, growth of plants in space, that it already succeeded in under this crops module. Few days back this article came. So that's the beauty. If you read newspaper every day in one or the other day, if that day if you missed, at least today you can cover it. So under this crops experiment, it grew the cowpea seed, right? It already sprouted that plant. So in that context, it is important. Next, next is sports. Just headline. This is again Djokovic and Alcaraz through the fire through Jang Falls. Okay, just a headline. That's it for the day, right? Thank you.